Welcome to Hearts and Stripes, your one-stop shop for all things military marriage. I hope our discussions and interviews equip you with the tools to start or grow a beautiful marriage as we address the benefits and challenges of MILF marriage. I believe life's most precious moments are worth celebrating, so I'll help you design your marriage blueprint in alignment with your core values. Thank you for joining us, and remember to rate, subscribe, and review. Let's do this. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Hearts and Stripes podcast. I'm your host, Bree Carroll, here bringing you another heart to heart. And before we get too deep into this episode, let me pause and just say happy Black History Month. I am excited to celebrate Black History Month 365, but I think it's worth saying right here as we kick off this episode, because for me, it personally ties into the topic that we'll be discussing today, which is one of our 3 pillars here for Hearts and Stripes podcast. So if you are a new time listener, welcome. We are here to strengthen military marriages, and the way that we believe that we do this is by thriving personally, by thriving in our marriage, and in thriving and building our legacy. And that last part is what we'll talk about today, building a legacy. And the reason why I wanted to talk about this specifically during the month of February is because I have the privilege of organizing a group called the Command Collective Community. And we had our master mentor call just last night, which was so good. February happened to be the month of marriage. Each month, I should say, in the community, we focus on those 3 principles. So January, our kickoff month, we focused on mindset. February, we were focused on marriage. And then in March, we will be focusing on building a legacy. So I guess that's kind of why it's fresh in my mind, and I wanted to share it here on the podcast to kind of give you an inside look behind the heart and the things that we're talking about in the Command Collective community. And you know what? Shameless plug here. Mark your calendars as the doors for the Command Collective community will open again on March 24th. If you are looking for a community of ambitious military spouses and service women, we highly encourage you to get on that wait list so that you can be the first to hear when doors open. So, like I said, today's episode is all focused on legacy, and I'm thinking through legacy more so because as I work with different women in this community around this concept of thriving, one of the things that I noticed, unfortunately, is that we have been suppressing our dream. I'll say it again. We have been suppressing our dreams. And some of us even are afraid to dream, and afraid to dream more so because of this military lifestyle, right? So we love our spouses. Maybe that's why you're listening here, because you want to get those tips and those tools and those resources so that you can do that second part, thrive in your military marriage. But let me just say that there is something that awakens in you as a person that allows you to show up even more in your marriage when you allow yourself the opportunity to just dream. And I think it's something that we're not doing enough of in this community. We're trying to conform to stereotypes, whether we know it or we don't, right? We also try to fit our lives into this box of what is allowed or what we think we can do. I know some people get frustrated even with the thoughts of following one of those V's that we talked about in the last episode, V for Valentine, about vacation. Some of us really don't even want to look forward to vacationing because we know the challenges and the struggles that can come with just simply getting some time together as a family, going and doing something. We feel like often it can get shut down by those no notice TDYs and deployments. And that is true, friend. But I'm going to let you into how I have been stretching myself here recently. And I hope that it can encourage you as I am trying to spark some new dreams, or maybe ask you to go back and think about some old dreams and awaken them for this season in your life. So I'll just share a little bit of my personal journey. And a lot of you know that I am the owner of B. Carroll Events. I am an event planner. I love to plan, design, and more specifically, provide strategy for events. And I opted to go full time in this pursuit in 2021, really, as I was kind of in limbo, waiting to see if I would get picked up for another position as an engineer with the Air Force. Well, during that time of waiting, my business started to take off. And I really want to say that I believe that my business started to take off because I started believing in it more. And we're going to get back to that, right? So as I started to bet on myself, I noticed things started to come into alignment. I received grant opportunities. More clientele started reaching out, wanting my services. And I had to make the decision to say yes and lean into those things. Well, that is a little scary as a military spouse, full transparency. And the reason why it's scary is because I often limited how much my business would grow because I was concerned that we'd have to leave or go somewhere, or because I'm a wife and a mom, that I didn't want to give too much to the dream that I had, and I'd be unable to fulfill my roles and responsibilities in another area. But I said, you know what? I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to bet on myself and I'm going to do this full time, which was an amazing decision. And I'm so grateful that I was able to do that. And maybe in another episode, I'll break down how we prepared for me to say yes in that way, which had to do with like getting debt free and other things. But another big leap that I made for myself and for my business is investing in a mastermind. Now, let me tell you, I provide premium services as an event planner, but I realized in my own personal growth and development, I had never invested the same amount that I ask people to invest with me in my services. So when this mastermind opportunity came up, it actually came on the cusp of someone from the government asking me one last time, like, are you sure you don't want to come back? And I thought about it a little longer than I guess I wanted to. And that bothered me. Like, why am I still considering going back? So I opted to say no, thank you. I appreciated that call. It truly filled my cup as I heard a lot of thank yous and things that I had not heard throughout the course of me working in a GS role. But when I made the decision to say no, thank you, this mastermind opportunity popped up and I was like, oh, this is going to get me to the next level. This is going to expand my dream. And what I was faced with immediately after saying yes and being challenged, not just with the investment, because I feel very confident about being able to invest in this big way, which may be a hindrance for you. So we'll talk about that too. But was more so the first challenge that I was faced with is they have a retreat, an in-person retreat that I'd have to travel and go to. And it was kind of, because I opted in last minute, the planning around getting there was a little last minute. And I started to panic because my husband ended up having to go on a TDY during that exact same time. So I let the host know, I'm still believing that I'll be able to make it to the retreat, but I'm not sure how I'm going to get there because I have a conflict in schedule and I'm a military spouse and I have 3 little people. So I just don't know how we're going to make all of that work, right? All valid things that are obstacles. However, the host said that she would just stand with me in belief that I would be in the room. And I wanted to, what she likes to call, cute quit. I did. I wanted to cute quit on the dream of showing up to this mastermind, because I know in that room there will be a level of transformation that happens for me and my business that I am nervous about, afraid of, and I'm not sure if I'm fully ready for, right? I think oftentimes we talk about dreams and visions and make a vision board and do all this stuff, but you have to do that internal check. Are you ready to really lean into the dream? And then are you ready to do what you need to do to make it happen? So the first invitation that I want to make when I pause here in this story is to say, I invite you to dream. I invite yourself to give yourself permission to dream again, regardless of what may have happened, all the facts that are true in this military journey. I want to give you permission to dream, and maybe you need to do like I did and just get you a little journal or what have you and write down some of the dreams that you had, or start writing down some new dreams. The second thing that I want to encourage you to do is, once you look at that dream, start counting the cost, or as I like to say in my care method, do some careful consideration and figure out, getting clear on what that dream looks like. Now, what is it going to take to get you there? So for me and my dream of showing up as my best self, as this business owner who's ready to take on new things like hiring and scaling and growing and all of these things, the first challenge that I had to figure out and count the cost of is, how do I get in the room to receive the transformation that I know is on the other side? And for me, that looked like trying to find childcare. So I got a couple of no's from who we typically ask, and we typically ask our in-laws and my parents, but they were unable to, not because listen, our family shows up for us. So shout out to having a supportive family. But after the first couple no's, I just kind of wanted to cute quit again and just say, military life again, right? And after being on the welcome call for the mastermind and talking with all and hearing the stories of all the other women who I would be in the room with, one, I didn't feel worthy to be in the group. Let's be clear. But then I had to remind myself that I opted in, and there were some other people who were too afraid to even opt in. So I do deserve to be in this room. And it further lit the fire under me to figure out how I could be in person at this retreat. And what I realized as I looked at my dream and the things that I want to get to, I realized that this current challenge of even trying to find childcare was a challenge that I would have to face time and time again as I want to grow my business. I made this situation mean for me that if I could not get in this room, then how would I get in the room to serve my clients? How would I get in the room to do these other things? And I told myself that I had not exhausted all the possibilities. And I started to text people and look at, how do I hire a nanny for the first time, and all of these different things. And you know what? I figured it out. So as we talk about building a legacy and this invitation to dream again, let me encourage you that until you start, number one, dreaming and writing that thing down and assessing the cost, you will never get to those wins until you start doing. You have to take action and lean into those dreams. And it doesn't have to be anything massive. I don't know what the dream is for you, but you have to take one small step. And let me tell you, even though finding childcare so that I can go to this retreat is a win for sure, it may just be a small step on the path to me showing up and becoming this person that I see on the other side of this mastermind. What is that small step for you? What does that first task look like for you? Maybe your first task is just dreaming again, right? But let me talk to those who kind of know like what their dream is. Maybe you want to be an author. Maybe you want to be an entrepreneur. Maybe you are looking to secure employment again. Whatever that dream is for you, It could be creative. It could be personal. It could be professional. Whatever that dream is for you that you know that you have you assessed the cost of getting there? And then have you taken the first step? The reason why I wanted to break that part down is just because that first step is not just the first step in, fulfilling the dream. Taking that first step is the first step on your way to building legacy. It's more than just this lofty, unattainable thing. It's really the step in the direction to leaving a legacy of possibility, a legacy of faith, a legacy of finances, even maybe for you. It's the first step towards building legacy. And that's why I opted to have this conversation. If you're watching on YouTube, and I encourage you to join us over on YouTube if you haven't already. But that's why I'm sitting here with the little reminders of what that legacy means to me. Growing this business is not just something that will be personally fulfilling. I want my business to be a blessing to other people, these little people, my family, and then all who are around me, who are connected to me, because my dream is big and it involves having other people along the way that I get to pour into, not just from like I do on this podcast, but financially. I want to hire military spouses and minorities and those who are underserved to come along with me on this journey. This is not just for me, but I'm building a legacy. And I hope that you take this as an invitation, one, to dream. But let me challenge you a little further. If your dream does not scare you, you're probably not dreaming big enough. I'll say it again. If your dream does not scare you, you're probably not dreaming big enough. And then let me also say that if your dream is all about you, you're probably not on the right path. Because I like to do purposeful planning, and what I have learned along the way is when we operate in purpose, it typically is less about us and more about other people. It's more about serving someone. It's more about making an impact and a difference. That's what I hope this little podcast, Hearts and Stripes, is doing, and making an impact. But this was a dream. It started as a dream. And I realized that it was something that was worthwhile in taking that first step in doing, so that I could see more military marriages saved. That's the goal here, to encourage you to be intentional about your relationship, to communicate more, to tap into the resources, the advice, and the things that we share here, whether that be through Military Marriage Day and the resource guide. I'll make sure to link that in the show notes so that you can see that. Or if it's joining a group of women to walk alongside you so that you can dream again via the Command Collective community, whatever that looks like for you. But I encourage you to dream. So that's all that I have for you in this episode of Hearts and Stripes podcast. We're going to head on over so that we can have our favorite part of the podcast, which is Heart Tracks. Okay, so we are here with our Heart Track. Listen, you can follow all of the playlists, Heart Tracks 3 on Spotify. That's Heart Tracks 3 on Spotify, and listen to these reminders about the conversations and discussions that we have right here on Hearts and Stripes podcast. So for today, our heart track comes from Halsey. It's actually a song that was played in Sing 2. My kids happen to be a really big fan, but the song is called Could Have Been Me. And I love that song because it reminds me that I want to live out loud. I don't want to have regrets. I don't want to waste the line. I don't want to waste my time. And I don't want to look back and say it could have been me. So I think as we're talking about dreaming and we're talking about building a legacy, this song fits in so perfectly because it's really been a motivational song, even for myself, to say, I don't want to play small during this time. I really want to dream big, scary dreams, and dream dreams that impact the lives of other people. So as you are listening to this heart track, I would love for you to share what comes up for you. What do you not want to look back and say that it could have been you? So that is all for Hearts and Stripes podcast. I can't wait for you to join us on the next week when we have another Heart to Heart. See y'all. Thank you for tuning in. Remember to rate, subscribe, and review. This is Hearts and Stripes. We are the few, the proud, that aim high and are forged by love. Always ready, always there. We are Mill Marriage Strong.